So officially, I would like to welcome you to this evening's event. My name is Matthäus. I work here at the Carl-Schurz-Haus. I'm in charge of our English language program for adults and companies, and I'm also in charge of our German American business community, which is what I'm doing here tonight with all of you lovely people. I'm happy to see we have some of our members with us tonight. Patrick and Mary Easy is actually one of our GABC members. We have Ariana Schuster, also one of our GABC members. And Vitalia Ega is also here, who's one of our GABC members. And also the IHK is one of our GABC members. So for those of you who don't know, I think everyone in this room is familiar with the Carl-Schurz-Haus, but in case there's anyone online who is not familiar, we are the German American Institute here in Freiburg. And the main goal of the German American Institutes is to facilitate a transatlantic dialogue. And we do that through various events surrounding art, politics, literature, and also business. So tonight, just to give you a brief rundown, what we're going to do is I'll do some formal introductions of our panelists, and then we will get into a panel discussion. Afterwards, we'll have time for question and answer for those of you here in person, also for anyone who is online. And then afterwards, we'll have some networking. We'll have some bites here for anyone who is here in person. To start things off, also tonight, we have a special guest with us. From the IHK, we have Markus here. And would you like to say a few words about the IHK at this moment?
Oh, I can.
Yeah.
Okay. So my name is Markus Czogalla. I'm head of legal department of the CCI in Freiburg. And we're trying to help businesses to open up business here and to come to Germany. We help people through the procedures to get the visa as good as we can. It's not always very easy to do this. So we know this, and in May, we started something new. We started the Welcome Center Black Forest. That's an institution of the CCI and the Handwerkskammer here in Freiburg. So they're just starting or building it up. They will have a website, and if you want to have contact with them, I'm tonight here with you, and I have my colleagues with me, and you can make contact then. This website is not working right now. It will be working in about a month. Due to legal terms and problems, it's not always so easy in Germany. But I can take the contact for you to my colleagues there if you have questions. And of course, you can question everything to me. I think we'll get in contact. And of course, I'm very pleased to be here tonight. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for coming. I have a feeling that will be one of the things we talk about tonight is the legal issues in Germany and a little bit of red tape and bureaucracy for sure. Yeah. So we are here tonight to talk about making it in Germany as a foreign entrepreneur. And as such, I have assembled a small panel here for us tonight. I actually did some extensive research because this is a topic that's quite interesting to me, especially since I'm in charge of our German American business community here at the Carl-Schurz-Haus. And I've seen so many entrepreneurs come here with great ideas that you think, oh, that's perfect for Freiburg, or oh, that's going to work really well. And then after maybe a year or so, they are no longer around and they can't seem to get on their feet. And so I thought, well, why not try to find people who have done this or who are doing this and hear what it is that's been working for them, hear what hasn't been working for them, or the obstacles that they've had to overcome. And then also to be able to share resources. So I know some of you in the audience tonight are also partaking in entrepreneurial activities. Some of you are just interested in maybe trying to enter the job market in Germany in general, which as a foreigner is also quite difficult. So we will touch upon many of these things tonight. Again, my name is Matthäus, representative from the Carl-Schurz-Haus and the GABC. Here to my left, this is Patrick Bastian, and Patrick is a co-founder of a company called LearnEasy.com. I will let you give a little synopsis of the company yourself, but I've known Patrick for quite some time because he was actually one of our English teachers here at the Carl-Schurz-Haus for a while, and is somebody who really embodies that American entrepreneurial spirit. And I don't think that anything can really stop you. Every time that I talk to Patrick, he's going into, there's a new venture or a new idea that he has, and he's pursuing it with full gusto. And so I'm looking forward to what you have to say tonight.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. And then we have Mirna Janka from Souk Balade, and she and her two sisters from Lebanon are trying to introduce Lebanese snacks, would you say, into the German market. And I know Mirna from our women's event that we had earlier this year, where she actually ended up catering the event for us and afforded to also help promote her business. And so also looking forward to hearing about how it has been for you and your sisters. Thank you. Jarrell, also one of our teachers at the Carl-Schurz-Haus, but has done many, many things. He is currently working at the uni clinic as well, but he is here today representing his microbrew company, Brauerhahn. And he actually appeared on our lunch break series, I believe it was earlier this year in February, where he talked about how to get brewing. And so we have kind of three different types of businesses here, three different types of perspectives that we'll hear from tonight. And I know I'm very much looking forward to it, and I hope that you are too. Yes? Okay, so let's get started, shall we? So I think first, maybe I'll let you each say a little bit more about your companies and what you've been doing or what you've been working on so far.
Sure.
Yeah, just to give a little more background.
Yeah, good. I'll start. So, Learn Easy started as a passion project with myself and my business partner, Jeff Burrows. I don't know if he's online, but he's in Leipzig right now. Jeff. We started it, basically, we were back in 2016, we were working for Learn Easy, and I was already an independent contractor as an online English teacher, but in Freiburg, I was teaching offline. So I already had my own online business. So I was thinking, well, I'm doing it as an independent contractor, and I had, after maybe when I got here in 2011, I already had started that business already because I needed to survive in Germany with some kind of money coming in when I moved from New York in 2011. So from 2011 all the way to 2016, I was already doing it independently, and then in 2016, I was like, I was also a student at the same time. So I was like, okay, I can't keep doing this on my own and handling all my students by myself. So let me try and get someone else involved. And I don't know if it was you, Ashley, or Uta that recommended that I talk to Jeff. And then I basically talked to Jeff about my idea of starting an online school because I, as an independent contractor, saw a lot of people wanted to learn online, but there weren't really great teachers online. So Jeff thought it was a great idea too because he had just started to teach online himself, and then that's when we started. First on my site, we started English for about a year until we were able to finally, after a year, to build the Learn Easy website, which we have today, and we host myself and Jeff and on and off 3 to 5 other online teachers, and I can talk about all the struggles later, but but at the moment we're providing online courses one-on-one and also offline group courses, and we're currently about to, maybe we can run another part, move into self-study courses, actually, group courses that are just already preset on a learning management system, and it won't just be English. So, but that's basically just where we're at and where we came from. So, that's it.
I've come originally from Lebanon. I've been living here for more than 22 years. The idea of us opening an import company to import Lebanese delicacies started after the explosion. I'm sure you've all heard of the explosion in Beirut. Our mission, we started our mission basically to trying to support our country in supporting the small farmers and small manufacturers in Lebanon by importing their good products, high quality products to Germany, at the same time introducing Germans to my home country and its delicacies and its special healthy food. Our unique selling point started and still is the authenticity of the Lebanese products. You can find a lot of Lebanese mass production products in the markets for those who are interested in Mediterranean, Near East cooking. But the products we import are basically, as we say, made with love, because the ingredients are very sustainable. They have no sugar added. They have no palm oil. They have no dairy and so on. And we'll talk about how we ended up with having a vegan palette of products in the later question. So basically, healthy snacking, no preservatives is our motto. And at the same time, helping our country in our own way.
Okay, I'm Jarrell. So I work at the Uni Clinic as a biologist. And so I love biological processes. I love yeast, basically. I've lived for years. My girlfriend will tell you that. Our breakfast is full of yeast. And so German has a really rich brew tradition, of course. However, microbiologically, it's very uniform. So, microbiologically, there's pretty much the same thing behind the pizza heads and so on and so forth. So I thought there was really a room to grow and expand a niche market. And so I guess one piece of advice, I just asked somebody, can I use your brew set? I have a professional brewery here. And that started the first venture. And people liked my products. And so I kept doing more and more and more. And they say I've had some great collaborations here. I just ask people to do random things, wine grapes here, smoked fish there. And people really like my products. And so I'm still doing that. And soon I'll be expanding and get my own brewery soon. And that's pretty much my story. Here.
And we actually, for Jarrell's first big batch of microbrew, he was able to do that for us here at Carl-Schurz-Haus. We had our 70th anniversary last year, and we will have some beer out for you later. For those who are here in the audience, good for you. So thank you. And what I'd like to know, because I know Patrick's story very in-depth with Learn Easy, and that you had to do a lot of changes and you had a lot of different ideas of pivoting. And that sounds like, you also had to pivot as well. And Jarrell, you had to move around to kind of work with the market. Did you do any preliminary research before getting into these ventures? Or did you just say, this is my passion, I want to do it? What would you say?
I think I did a lot of preliminary research with the people who started brewing before me. And so they all were very open, shared their business plan with me. And I was able to see that the numbers they predicted they would sell were normally about 10 times higher than the numbers they eventually sold. And so I think that formulated my business plan, which I'm always going to be a niche market in Germany. And so I keep it small, keep it authentic, build good partnerships in the region. And that my preliminary research basically led me to my small, klein aber fein business.
So in talking to others who had done something similar, you were able to adjust your expectations as well, right? Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
For us, we did some research, obviously mostly online. We asked around. IHK was one of our first sources, but also dealing with food was turned out to be more challenging than one can expect, especially from a small country, third world country. And unfortunately, dealing with the customs and the government offices where there's no collaboration or cooperation. You ask somewhere here, they say, I'm not responsible, go there, maybe, but no, I'm not responsible. And then do the third one and then get your answer halfway through. So that was the research was made, but apparently no matter in my experience, no matter how much research we had, apparently it was not enough, because once you jump in, then you learn by doing. The main challenge was getting the first small order here to start the tasting. For the first order, we made a mistake of ordering something with dairy. I thought, I'll challenge and see what comes out of it. And the order stayed for 5 weeks at the customs. And then we had to pay almost pretty large amount of money to get it destroyed. They would not, So it was a very, very big challenge, which we really learned from. And the next step of the market research basically was asking around and doing a lot of tasting events. And that's how we figured out what works, what does the German taste buds, what do the German taste buds need, and which are obviously different than Lebanese, but also within Germany. Germany is a huge market. Within Germany, there's a lot of difference. Here is different than Berlin, I'm sure. So based on these facts, we were able to start. We're still on the smaller scale, and we're still also a niche market. And people would need to taste our products to get convinced why they are so good and why we believe in the quality and in the mission.
So it sounds like in this case, there was a lot of trial and error
as
well.
Yes.
Well, maybe there's a paired tasting in the future then with some Südvalade snacks and some Callahan beer.
Yeah, that would be great.
Saying a match has been made.
Yeah, that would be great.
Definitely.
Yeah. And for you, Patrick?
Yeah. Jeff and I, we did a lot of research because we realized we were already independent contractors and we couldn't visualize ourselves creating a real online school per se without, some kind of a new attraction to other teachers that would bring them to us. So we looked at, how big the market was. We went online and we checked out as many resources, Googled as much as we could. I even went to the Gründen Bureau here in Freiburg, and they basically, I was basically told, well, you're not really in the right place because it was too simple a business model for them. They're looking for more innovative projects. They didn't see the innovation in improving, online learning. So that helped us to understand that, okay, if we wanted to become innovative, we have to create our own platform. And that was our first idea. And that's what we tried to research with help from other resources, like some online Gründers resources, independent resources for simple businesses. And then I think after a while, we said we'd have to try learning by doing too, just to see if we could get any traction for any of the courses we wanted to offer. And really, we started with a very simple idea of, okay, we'll just do a simple first test with online English course. So just, offer it through my website, and then we'll see if any takers will come. And of course, I was still working part-time. So as I had just started a new job at JDocs. If anybody is online from JDocs, hello. As a technical writer, people knew me as the English guy. So then eventually they found out I had the school, and then they were our first real corporate customer. So, but of course, innovative, it wasn't, in the cards at that point. And we wanted to use the money from that first customer to try to begin the process of finding developers to build up an independent platform ourselves. And that was where other challenges came in. Yeah.
Well, that's probably a good segue now to these challenges. Would you say was there do you have just one big obstacle that you've had to overcome, or has it just been a whole bunch of bumps in the road along the way? Are there any particular stories that you would like to share? Maybe some stories or
Yeah.
Yeah.
The saddest, probably. The trials were very trying. Yeah, the saddest, the worst experience was the small quantity of goods sitting, and we brought it also with air freight, so that because it's not enough for a pallet by sea, obviously, and the goods are also very. They have to be shipped under a certain temperature, not over 22 degrees. So it will change the consistency and so on. So what I think the main obstacle which I faced, I say I because my sisters are not in Germany. That's my answer. It's that the customs. It's very difficult to find coordination between the several government offices. Even in the customs, I learned through trial and error also that when you import something to Germany, there is an item code, an 11-digit item code. And this should be something general, internationally acknowledged. In Lebanon, they use 9 digits. So and the combination of this 11-digit code is you need a PhD to understand it, because they have the customs the customs offices have a system online, and I felt that every time I put a number, something different came out. Actually, I learned that the customs people themselves need to go through a very, very deep dive into the system to understand it. And if, for example, the same item arrives to Frankfurt, it will be assigned a different code than when it comes, for example, to Hamburg, depending on the person who is seeing it, how the combination of things are, because it's not yeast, for example, because yeast has this one number, but it's a combination of different things, and how the process was, what did they use to make that product? That also plays a role. So that was the main big obstacle. And for a person who has no idea about food, and I mean, I don't come from the food industry, it was really challenging. But now we know, after 1.5 years, we know there's a certain number which works, because the number obviously affects how much customs you pay and how much penalties you pay, and for the dumping, and so on and so on. So the rules and regulations for the food industry are, they can burn you if you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, that's the main source of information was lacking for us. Some a standard, something where we can say, okay, this is, if you follow this, you'll find the solution. It was not the case.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that such information is easier for people who work in the food industry or who are already ingrained in the German business industry to navigate, or would you say just in general?
In general, I think. I mean, once now I know how to deal with the system. Mm-hmm. I'm not the expert, obviously, but I know what to look for. But you click on something and it opens up pages and pages of rules and regulations, which half of it I don't understand. So it's not my mother tongue. So I had to deal with those trial and errors, but finally we finally have a set of. I have it on a piece of paper front of me, this item has this code and don't move away from it, because then you have to pay more, you have to get penalized for this and that.
Okay.
So, and yeah, and I respect the rules and regulations now. But other than that, the obstacles with the labeling, the obstacles with the amount, there are guidelines basically online from the Lebensmittelbehörde, but it's just, you need to talk to somebody, and that somebody might not be the right person, then switch, and it's not that easy, but we're still on it. We survived the first phases of difficulty. Yeah.
Okay. Good. So you've learned along the way. It was a hard lesson to learn, but yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Czogalla, Patrick, anything?
I think in the bureau, one of the most interesting things is, in Germany they have the federalism where you have the Bund, Land, and then also the city comes into play with beer. And so, for example, a big thing in Berlin is that depending on the part of town you live in, it determines who you have to apply for an exception. So if you want to brew not according to the Reinheitsgebot, so that I know a brewery from Wedding to Mitte, and they had always applied to the same person, and then for years they heard nothing, and that comes to the next part. So oftentimes you think you're operating well, you send in everything, and then you hear no communication back. And then a year later you get a really angry letter.
Yeah.
Why have I been doing this for the last year?
Yeah.
But yeah, oftentimes, so I'll send in the form, check all the boxes, and then they'll decide something completely different from what I checked, and then they just won't inform me until they're ready to get the Monica or something. So nothing bad has happened so far, but I would say one piece of advice I would give is always get a confirmation of what you handed in to somebody. Because if I hand it to you Tuesday, you go on holiday, you hand it to him on Thursday, he has a completely different interpretation of the boot or whatever, and you can have conflicts between that. So that's been my small issues. So the rules on Thursday and get people on Friday.
Can you explain to people that don't understand what it means Reinheitsgebot in German?
How long is this event?
Yeah, just so that folks, you told me about it, and I'm sure that people who don't know what it is.
Can you put it in a nutshell?
Yeah, very succinct.
Nutshell. Okay, so the Reinheitsgebot actually doesn't really exist, but it's called the Vorläufiges Biersteuergesetz. That's another thing I had to find out. It wasn't for the Lebensmittelbehörde. It's actually the Finanzamt that controls what goes into a beer.
Wow, crazy.
And also,
never know that.
So I'm between the Lebensmittelbehörde, Zoll, and the Finanzamt, and I always have to know whose hand to shake at each time. Long story short, the Reinheitsgebot determines what ingredients you can put in a bottom fermented beer, a lager beer. Okay, that's another thing. So top fermented beers, so a Hefeweizen, for example, do not have to follow the German Reinheitsgebot, so to speak. So it's basically the laws that govern what can go in beer, which are all Germans seem to think you're born with this. What are the ingredients in the Reinheitsgebot? Oh no, I can't forget.
In the Reinheitsgebot gets binding for you if you want to advertise with it. So that's what I can say. I'm not a professional with that kind of law, but as far as I can see, it's only binding if you want to advertise with this. And normally beer is advertised with Deutsche Reinheitsgebot. So if you want to make it, if you want to tell people we are brewing as mentioned in the Deutsche Reinheitsgebot, then it's binding for you.
So it's always binding.
It's always binding.
Depending on which city, what state you live in.
Okay.
So, for example, in Baden-Württemberg, anything with barley, generally falls under the Reinheitsgebot. Whereas in Bavaria, if you don't call it beer, they don't care.
Ah,
So
Yeah.
I think Irish is my thing.
Yeah.
You'll see that a lot, in the area, but here they say no barley, so it has to follow, if it's bottom fermented,
okay, then it's fine.
then it's bottom, but even if you don't write it on there.
So you need to change your beer if you want to sell in Bavaria.
You know,
Or the
change
label at least.
Label.
Beer drink.
I have to label here. You can't label it as beer. If it's bottom fermented, it contains that wheat. You can't label it as beer, basically. In anywhere. In Germany. But there's a little bit of Spielraum.
Okay.
Playroom. Yeah,
Wiggle room, there we go.
a lot of little wiggle.
Wiggle room.
Look the other way, especially six pack. As long as you don't write beer on it, people are pretty. You can write alkoholisches Malzgetränk. I don't know.
That
You
makes
can
sense.
write anything but beer. If you write beer, then they'll come knocking on the door. And so that's people.
Right. I think that the things that you learned though, about these different areas of Germany and how there are different regulations for the different areas. Of course, as an American, you're familiar that, you have the state regulations and then nationwide regulations as well. But these are very peculiar. And if I wanted to get into brewing, I don't think I would turn to the finance office as my first guess of where to go. Right. So it's something that only through this trial and error or through asking around that you're able to actually discover, where do I need to go to get this approved? Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah. I guess when it comes to challenges, I can talk about to get funding for any educational program that you want to do. We had a couple of different attempts. First, the traditional startup, competitions. We went to the hackathons here and there just to see if we could meet some developers to help us create our little educational platform. But most developers are not interested in education for some reason. They'd rather do something having to do with finance, so we can all, understand that. And we even, entered into this competition called Start Insland, where you present your little startup. We just were not innovative enough for that competition. So that it was more for academic startups, which are more the type that you would get patents for. And we didn't know that. We just thought, hey, we have a new business. We want to improve learning online. So let's fill out the form. It was all in German. So myself and Jem obviously are not native speakers. So we got a friend who actually worked with the Gründers Bureau. She was employed there to fill it out for us. So she helped us fill out this competition for the information for this competition. And then, of course, we were really proud of ourselves, but we got no response. But that's, we understood that was just going to be one of maybe who knows, half a dozen attempts to get funding through competitive means. And then we started realizing, okay, maybe that's not our way. We need to find something that's actually not really techie startup related, but more focused on education. And so then we pivoted to Erasmus as a possible source of funding, where we could create a program having to do with one of their goals for improvement of the education system, and that was something that we saw some traction in. We even involved Carl-Schurz-Haus in one of our attempts to create a program, an educational program. I think we tried to focus on entrepreneurship because at the time that was what Erasmus Plus was focused on. That was back in 2019 we did that one, right? Or basically between
2020 actually.
Yeah, 2020. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. So you could imagine we started 2016. We were just bootstrapping the whole time, just doing our normal business as a client unto name in a small business. And then we went for the big time to try to get real funding for a real educational program. And so we tried to set up a consortium. And I can tell you that's one of the hardest things you could ever try to do in Germany, is to set up a consortium of multiple institutions. And you yourself, you're not an institution, you're just private business person or, two individuals who are freelancers with a small business. We were not taken seriously, but with our network, with the Carl-Schurz-Haus, we got a lot of opportunities to at least get the form filled out. But it was such a huge challenge, and the paperwork was so complex. We barely got our first application in 2020 in, but the fact that we got it in actually got Erasmus Plus to actually communicate with us for the second application in 2021. And we were more prepared in 2021, but then we realized our idea didn't have enough real institutions involved and students involved that wanted to do this kind of program. I didn't explain what the program was. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit nervous. Okay. In 2020, we wanted to do an entrepreneurship program, but a digital entrepreneurship program. So it would be first online with various young people participating in their home countries, taking courses on entrepreneurship, and then they would be invited to Freiburg to come and actually take a little bit of a tour of Freiburg and look at businesses in the area and learn about real entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs here in Freiburg. That was the idea. We thought it was a home run, but Erasmus Plus thought, nah, this is not going to work. Which institution is going to, be your partner in this? Where are the high schools that say they want to do this at all? And those were the questions we were asked. But they didn't say, you should give up. They just said, no, if you want to do this, the next time you have to have already these schools already interested in doing the program. But the rule is they can be interested in doing it, but you can't test it. You can't, yes.
Did you make contact to Offenburg, the Hochschule in Offenburg?
Well, that's the thing. I was focused on Freiburg, right? So
So
I think
Offenburg would be better because they are more technical.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so a person like me, I'm looking at my local area, my connections. I wouldn't think of going farther out, from Freiburg. So we did go to Lorna, to DHBW. But they, I actually worked for them, so I don't want to say anything negative. But they were so focused on their existing partnerships for Erasmus Plus, they thought we were trying to compete somehow with their business model. Yeah, it didn't work in the end. And Professor Fleischmann, he's very, he's the one that runs the business program there. He was very supportive in the beginning, but then we made the mistake of not filling out the first time, filling out the paperwork properly. And so he said, look, if you guys are going to work with us, you have to be more professional. And he didn't understand. We didn't, we were learning how to do this. And we maybe made one mistake and that was it. We're out, And so we did not give up. We did still do a couple of pilot projects with Carl-Schurz-Haus to show that we could put together this program and we could get teachers to present different topics on entrepreneurship and sustainability, and also other topics like leadership and team building. And we still have the content. It's just we it didn't go anywhere. But that was the first attempt with Erasmus Plus to get this kind of major funding. But we learned the hard way that building a consortium really requires maybe someone who's a native speaker and a professional already in this area. And we also learned that we need contracts between us because they wanted to see all the contracts for every organization and what each organization would contribute to the project before even given this kind of funding was over 100,000. So it was something that was a major opportunity for us.
And I think if I may, this is something that a lot of foreigners can relate to who have come to Germany looking for work in general, where in order to get a visa, you have to have a job, but you can't get a job unless you have a visa. Yeah. So there's this kind of catch-22. So you have this idea for a project, you need to get the schools on board, but you can't get the schools on board until you have the project approved. And so you kind of have this, and it's this kind of limbo state that somehow works and functions in Germany, but yet it's very tormenting as a foreigner, as somebody who's non-German, because you think, is this going to work? I feel very insecure. I don't think that this will come together in the end.
Yeah.
And so you had that experience then at this professional level then as well. And I know we've all been to the Ausländerbehörde.
That's a different type of performance.
Yeah. Really. But to transition a little bit, because I also want to be able to open it up to our audience here as well as online for some question and answers. Maybe you have some direct questions. I have lots of other questions here, but maybe before we do that, just if you could briefly say, because we were talking about the obstacles, and yes, there are lots of them, but I like ending on positive notes. So is there one thing that you would say, I have accomplished this? Yeah, that this is up until now, this has been my biggest accomplishment with my enterprise. They're like one thing you pick out that you say, yes, I did that, good for me, and we're going forward.
Yeah, I think I can somewhat say that I've obviously, when you cold calling, trying to expand, trying to get the products known and so on, it's just got blocked and so many no's. I thought there's something wrong with me, or it's just this insecurity of, do I really want to hear another no? Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, to get to the name and the telephone number of the person in charge of a store, of a company is overwhelming. But we finally decided because we believe that when the people taste, they get convinced. So we decided to make tasting packages of our best products, and I sent it out to around 7 people, very high-end, fine-cost in Stuttgart, in Hamburg, in Munich. I called the lady. I was so scared to call her, the one in Stuttgart. I thought she's gonna be so show off, and because she was in that beautiful, fine store, I hesitated at the beginning, but then I called her, and she was actually very low key, and she tasted the products with her team, and she liked a few, and she said right now it's a summer hole now, the summer loch. But I am looking forward to calling her again in September to look for having a tasting event at their place, and hopefully getting something on their shelves for Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Well done.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
It's still a question mark, but at least I feel comfortable and I feel confident that yes, this works. So it's gonna take off in this type of sending out packages and hoping for the best. So, but I think once we have a reference like that would help a lot.
Mm-hmm. And I empathize with that too, because it's so hard after you get all those no's, even when you're applying for a job or when you're trying to start your own business, and you just keep getting rejection letter after rejection letter, and then you want to say to her, "You want that again?" But it's a good thing that you did, and you went forward with it. I hope that it works.
It's very challenging, but and that's our. We think that this is going to be our concentration with going with business to business more. We're going to keep the online store.
Okay.
But it's the business to business, which is probably going to get us settled and move forward and expand.
Nice. Accomplishment from Jarell, Patrick?
As we're still, in business. I think that's an accomplishment. I mean, both Jeff and I have full-time jobs, but we still maintain Learn Easy as a passion project, and obviously we're still looking forward to doing it as a full-time gig. Side hustle. Yeah, we all know it. That's what it is. But we're proud of that we still maintain it, and it's somewhat strange. We had a big hit. We lost our big customer, but now maybe we may get another one. My new employer might be interested in Learn Easy. But also I'm proud of the fact that we've introduced a lot of young people to teaching, because when we were starting off, we would just ask people who are interested in joining the online school, okay, would you like to teach a course? We can show you how to set yourself up. And I think we introduced a lot of people to the world of being an instructor without even thinking about it, and some of them, were very good and ended up continuing on. Vera Mystery, she even did a course on diversity and inclusion here, and she came through our network, And I'm also proud of the podcast that we started just to talk about learning in general. And my buddy Rico Lazo, hopefully he's watching from Colombia.
There we go.
Yeah, and we got to introduce a lot of different types of topics through this podcast that I would have never done if I wasn't working on Learn Easy and trying to promote it through the podcast. So it's a lot of fun to do it. So I'm proud that we've kept it going even through the pandemic. So I think there's a lot more coming from Learn Easy. So I'm happy about that.
You've seen growth in different directions than expected.
Oh yeah. And with the self-study idea, self-paced study of a lot of different types of subjects, I think we'll grow even faster that way. So that's the next step for us.
And for you, Jerome?
I think the thing I'm most proud of is, even though the taste for beer in Germany is quite limited, in my opinion, the desire for quality or the appreciation of quality is 100% there. And I've gotten to do collaborations with some of the most amazing fish producers. I mean, I'll tell you the fish thing, there's no fish in my beer. Some of the best wineries and some of the best breweries I've gotten to have some amazing collaboration, made some great friends, learned a lot. And so that's my biggest accomplishment, is the partnerships I've made in the region.
Okay. Great. So I would like to open it up. I have other questions that I would be happy to ask as well, but I want this to be as interactive as possible. So if anyone here in the audience has a question for one or all of our panelists, or Johanna is monitoring the chat online as well. So if you are tuning in online, feel free to type it into the chat there and Johanna will communicate it with me. But yeah, are there any questions from the audience? Yeah.
Patrick, did you find that was there an increase in demand through the pandemic with all the kind of explosion of online?
There were an increase in teachers looking to work, online. And demand, there was a slight increase, but it was through the company we were working for. It was really through the business. They needed more help with their new employees, and we provided them, personal lessons, individualized lessons, and so then the employees had more time to take the lessons, and so that's what increased for us. Our existing customer base increased, our number of students taking the course there, but there was so much competition coming online, it didn't make a big difference for us. It was the existing business that helped us to survive.
I'm curious if there was kind of an overinvestment in online resources because of the pandemic, and now there's excess capacity.
There you go. Yeah, it's a huge amount of competition. It's always been that way. So generally with online learning, the cream rises to the top, and so you have to figure out what you are as a business. And so myself and Jeff, since we already had our own customer bases individually, when we wanted to move away from just teaching ourselves and bringing other teachers in, we found it to be very difficult to organize these teachers because they had, they were not employees, they're independent contractors themselves. They have their own priorities. And so it was very tough to scale with that business model. And so that's why myself and Jeff have decided that, hey, we've got to become more high value, and do more, basically do the self-paced courses at the lowest level and the highest level. People have to do, these, this is a new thing, cohorts. That's the better concept. So you can group up a specific group of people who really want to learn together virtually, and that would be more sustainable for individual teachers.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask a question. So I'll say it this way. So one of the things that scares the crap out of me of trying to start anything here is the paperwork. Just to be honest, like I have too much experience with bureaucracy in Germany already, for personal reasons. I don't get into here. So my question for you is I've also heard that it's easier to do paperwork for services rather than inventory, and if you have goods, it's really complicated. But I guess my question to you all would be, who helped you with that? Are there, maybe for everyone here, are there resources a place I could go to for help with that paperwork? Because I feel like I don't know where to start at all. So I'd just like to hear from you. How did you start the paperwork, and who did you go to when you said, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know what these forms are?
Paperwork is a big question.
The Baumeister knows everything, and so I can't really add much. I just asked the Baumeister, and he tells me what to do.
You asked who?
The Baumeister, the brewmaster.
You just asked. Okay.
Yeah, so I just walk into a brewery and say, hey, how do I fill out
and they help you.
It's all, and they like go to the secretary. So far, everybody has been really open. I think my last place of advice would be the finance fund.
Don't go there.
I would say don't go there, but maybe you could probably even be more.
Depending on what you are planning to do. I mean, in my case, I first asked the Steuerberater, our accountant, what kind of company or what kind of sole proprietorship, which way should I go, what is best tax-wise, what is best to start, and then if it doesn't work, to close down, and so on and so on. And then I asked a lawyer about a couple of different things, just half an hour, not too much. And then they led me to starting off the forms to register the company at the Rathaus. And then I have an Einzelunternehmen, a single proprietorship, which I think makes things easier because the higher the Unternehmensgesellschaft or GmbH, you have to go to notary public, which gets even more complicated.
It costs more.
Then from there, they told me that I need import license, which I had to apply for. Took 2-3 months to get the number. Then I had to take hygiene courses for dealing with food. Although I wasn't the thing, our products are packaged, but I thought it's better to have it than rather not, because when you are giving people things to taste and somebody comes and asks you whether do you have it or not, I had it in my drawer and done, checked, ready. And which actually played positively now, because we are branching out also into catering, which helps me directly in that case. So lab, I had to ask a lot about lab tests and lab certificates and all of the. So you just, there's a lot. Not even for the label, but you have your brewmeister, so that helps a lot.
I think that's also a bit of a different community or different network too, because working with the brewmeisters, they're all kind of a little bit more laid back, than having to go to the Finanzamt or to another hygiene amt or so. Yeah.
But in my case, also I asked the IHK.
Markus, yeah.
Well, that's what I think you supposed that my answer would be. So, of course, I have to tell you, you are all member of the CCI by law. So that's a German specialty. You have to pay for for your membership, which is not Yeah, it's a mandatory membership. So
Yeah.
why not take the service from us? So we have an international office at the CCI, which can help you with customs forms and things like that. As more as your question gets specialized, then there will be an end of our our help, because we are not specialized in brewery, for instance. But in the main course, in general questions, we can help you. We can say, you take this form or that form, or go to this office. Then we have for free tax informations. We have you can make for free an appointment with an tax specialist once a month. You won't have to pay for that. So the first step, we can help you, and then the next step you have to do on your own. But the first thing which should come in mind when you have problems is make a call to us, make an appointment to us, and we can help you. So we are about it. Our organization has about 150 employees in a big variation of topics. So come to us.
And the IHK is also local to your region. So we have the IHK Südlicher Oberrhein here in the Freiburg area. But depending on where you live, for anybody who's tuning in online, there are also IHKs or IHK, which is the local chamber of commerce in your area. Just Google it and you'll find what is local to you. Ellen,
I would like to ask Patrick a question, because I am the same sort of building this startup online learning. So, and then we haven't incorporated yet, and actually we're thinking more to go to Estonia because there is a digital business model there. We'll go there. So, I want to ask you, how international can you be, like being here?
Well, it's irrelevant, because once you create your .com, that has all you need here is to have to impress them on your website to make sure that you have your location clear and all the legal requirements to own your business. And we also have a VAT. So we set ourselves up tax number. Sorry, it's VAT. So but that took time for us to build. To understand that we needed it. To work with certain companies and so on. And that's, we basically decided to bootstrap, basically learn by doing. And then when somebody said, you need this, then we got it, because as the person who taught entrepreneurship at the course, I would always tell my students, you should just go about it. As long as you're not doing anything that could kill anyone, it's okay. And then with an online business, it's a service. So you're providing an opportunity for, others to take your service. And since myself and Jeff were already independent contractors, we were legally allowed to do what we're doing. Generally, where you incorporate it is your choice, but you still are going to have to pay taxes in Germany eventually if you live in Germany. So why not, set it up in Germany, From my point of view, you can set up your first year, and then you can set up another business in Estonia, just if it's required. But just get started. That's what I would say.
In asking and doing some research before this event with people that I was talking to that started their own businesses as well, a lot of the advice that I got was, don't start your company in Germany, go elsewhere, go to Estonia, or go to Denmark, or go to these other places first, especially if it's an online company. But I think what Patrick has said is also a good point, that if you plan on doing business in Germany, I find that yes, there's a lot of paperwork and there's a lot of things that you have to do at the start, but once you are able to make it through all of that red tape, then you're good to go, right? From my understanding, at least, that once you've established yourself and you have your tax number in order,
Exactly,
and you have everything, then you can operate as
a normal business,
yeah.
and then it's less. It gets easier every year from what we see, but we haven't gone to the big leagues. We're still independent contractors working together. We're a GBR and not a GmbH. And once we get to that level, then we'll need somebody else to do the taxes outside of me. So it's just a process, and I'm all about slow and steady. So that's how I operate. Yeah, baby steps. Yeah. But if you're looking to move faster, I understand your point of view. Then you would want something like that, where you can go to Estonia and have less red tape. But I saw it essential to learn the system here because I plan to really get customers here first. Yeah,
I think that's interesting because we're thinking we are more in the want to move international, English speaking international.
Mhm.
So I never really thought about the German market. So it's a good part.
Yeah, especially businesses here. Yeah, they'll really support you. Mhm.
Question from Daniel, and then one online, I think.
Mirna, I have a question for you. So I'm interested more in this financial part, regarding import costs.
Mm-hmm.
So could you please elaborate more on that topic? Because I think especially if you import goods from outside of the European Union, I guess the EU itself does not make it easy for those entrepreneurs. So I can imagine that the costs are high and you have to sell maybe a higher quantity in order to have a sustained business.
Mm-hmm.
Could you please elaborate on that?
Depending on the agreements, there are definitely several agreements between European Union and, for example, Lebanon in this case. If the products, and all this is set in that online platform, which you need a PhD for. There are certain things where, for example, they are afraid of dumping. For example, we import part of our products are crackers and everything which has to be with wheat and so on. And because the European Union has a lot of production in this matter, we need to pay tax customs on that over and above the 7% Umsatzsteuer, which you have to pay on food, for example, like you buy in the supermarket. We have to pay it at the customs for all the products. But on top of that comes the customs cost, which can be, depending on the country, depending on the product, can go from 9 to 19%, sometimes 22%. We had a problem with olive oil at the beginning. We solved the problem, but the first shipment, they shot the customs charges so much that it was a small quantity, so just for tasting. But then we analyzed what the problem is, and it's just a twist in the HS code, which is the number which you put for the items. So what is very important to know as we hit the wall in the first shipment is, for example, no dairy, no meat, no even honey, anything which has honey in it, because it's an animal product, is banned. And that's why we ended up with basically naturally by per Zufall, as we say in German, vegan, because we can't import anything else. So you need to understand what the regulations is of everything within the European Union. Is you're happy-go-lucky, but when it comes to countries outside, you need to be careful what the agreements are before you get into something like that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
All right. Cynthia Vanna, who is an academic and government relations manager at ETF Global Staff, is interested in communication and language aspects, and I think you touched upon that a lot already, but maybe as like a summary. She wants to know what level of German is required to successfully deal with all the bureaucracy.
native speaker, baby. Almost.
And second, there's two more questions. What languages do you use among company staff, and could you comment on the diversity of your team? And the third one is, what languages do you mostly use talking to B2B and
B2C? Okay, three-part question. First and foremost, what language do you need in order to
What level?
what level of German?
So pretty much,
Which doesn't exist.
you need,
That is beyond native
you need
speaking.
speaker.
I think you need a high level of German in order to successfully deal with Finanzamt and successfully deal with all the paperwork. So it's definitely helpful to have a native speaker on board. I've been here for 12 years. So my German is at a level where I feel confident. In that, what was the other part of this question?
The people that you work with or that you have within your companies, what language do you use in communicating with them? And then also language communicating with B2B or B2C, for business to business or business to customer.
German. Yeah, doesn't go in.
For me, it depends.
Yeah.
It depends.
Your world.
Yeah.
Really?
Like there's the
After drinking a couple of beers.
Well, I think like the whole craft beer scene is very centered. And so if I go to a beer conference or something, or a craft beer festival, then the language is English. Or if I go to a Seminar or something, then German is definitely the language. On a professional level, German, on a fun level, English and beer.
I agree with you guys that you need a higher level of German than A2. But because I didn't really think of building the business until I was already in Germany for 6 years. 2011 to 5 years. So it makes sense once you're established and you're comfortable with the language enough. I guess B1 between B1 and B2.
So an intermediate level. For anyone who's not
Intermediate level
familiar.
is when you can navigate or at least survive the process, and I can. Yeah, sometimes you just fill things out and you don't know what you're filling out, and then you find out later it was totally wrong. And then, but that's a learning process too. That's just living in a foreign country. I think that's what I would say. Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that speaks to the C3 point where I'm sure there are certain things, certain forms, certain regulations, certain rules and laws that you need to read that unless you have a German law degree, you also wouldn't be able to understand yourself. You'd have to call in maybe a German lawyer or go to the IHK and ask for some further help.
The go-to address.
Right.
But yeah, in my case, B2B, B2C, it's all German. I can't use English except in the Carl-Schurz-Haus and with a couple of friends. Yeah. And that's the challenge, writing emails, interesting emails or direct letters and so on. Nowadays, I use, thank God, there's the online translators, good translation, which help a lot to figure out how the sentence would come out in a sounds nice and interesting and so on. And that's very difficult for me, at least, to write it directly in German, other than the fact that with the mistakes, which I still do.
Can I make a cheeky plug?
Of course.
My recent strategy is ChatGPT.
Oh, okay.
Very nice. So I got an email from the Finanzamt and it just made me angry. So I copied and pasted it in there. I said, respond to this angrily. Yeah, I just copied and pasted it back.
You're still here, not
I'm still here. Of course, I was like, this is really good.
That's great. It's all
So that's a really cheeky book, but it really has helped me with my email traffic.
Thank
What came out of this?
It was a really good email. It was really professional. It wasn't too angry.
So what happened? Is it Finanzamt?
It was fine. But I sent a good email.
You have to wait for 2 years and then you get
I was happy with it. It didn't take too much time. German was really good. I even told it like, that's a little bit too angry. And you wrote it.
That's great. Yeah. We're gonna have a self-study course on how to use ChatGPT to create your CV. Yeah. It's already, Rico has already set it up. It'll be online soon.
Well, I think language is a key factor, because even if you've been here for a while, even if you are confident in your German skills, but you still need to operate professionally in German, there are plenty of things where you want to go about very tactfully or very delicately in certain situations, or how do you reapproach someone in such a way, and just finding that right phrasing, finding that feel for the language is quite difficult. Yeah. And you don't want to come across that. As an American, I'm always thinking, oh, I'm coming across as too pushy. Yeah. Or I'm coming too loud or too excited. I need to delete a lot of my exclamation points that I have here. Because they think, oh, it's an excited US American. But I think language is key in this process, and in the migration process in general as a foreigner coming to Germany, because you can get by in English in Germany. I know that I came here and I started teaching English because there wasn't much else that I could do, since I had zero knowledge of the German language. But then at some point I had to tell the people that I was speaking with, I want to speak in German now, so I can actually learn the German language. And I'm so happy that I did, because then my German was able to improve. And it's such, again, it's another catch-22 that we have here in Germany, where everybody speaks English, but not really.
And they don't correct you when you say something wrong in German out of their politeness, and that's the problem, because you don't learn if they don't correct you. That's what I had.
Or they overcorrect you and discourage you. So it's one or the other, So you have to just keep your courage.
I wanted to make a comment that there's a cultural element too, I think, in terms of how, in at least my impression of German business culture, in how you present yourself when you want to be taken seriously. There are cultural elements that I think are tricky to. You have to spend some time with people in the field to get a feel for that. What works, what doesn't.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah. It's very nuanced.
I think that is probably a good point to end on, because we're all here also to network and speak with one another. I'm sure our panelists would be happy to continue these discussions, or if you have other questions you would like to ask them individually. We have Flammkuchen and some nice little drinks outside for all of us. Just to wrap things up a little bit here, we do have some upcoming events. Next week here at the Carl-Schurz-Haus, for anyone who is in Freiburg, we have our 4th of July party, our annual Independence Day party. It should be a lot of fun. It's family friendly. There will also be a GBC networking corner at 7 o'clock, but the event is from 4 to 10 Tuesday evening at the Genter Brauerei. Hope to see you there. For those looking to also continue networking and are also in the Freiburg area, on the 19th of July, we're going to do just a networking lunchtime mixer at the Weingut Deuga. So I hope to see some of you again there. For those of you who are online or also here in the audience who like to do things online, our next English-speaking entrepreneurs meeting is the 26th of July, and that is at 3 o'clock. And usually we get together, we talk for about an hour, we exchange ideas, we talk about our struggles, or kind of brainstorm with one another. And we're always looking for new people to come and join us, because it's also a nice place for those who would like to not just speak English, but who would like to connect with other English speakers who are trying to make it in the business world in Germany. And then on the 2nd of August, I'll have my quarterly lunch break with GUEC, which again, Jarell was on our one in February. You can check that out on our YouTube channel. Other recordings of past Carl-Schurz-Haus events are also on our YouTube channel. So if you've missed anything, feel free to go check them out. And with that, I will say thank you to our audience. Thank you to our online audience. Thank you to Markus from the IHK. And an overwhelmingly big thank you to Jarell, to Mia, to Patrick for coming, sharing your story, being so brave to do so, and so candidly as well. Really appreciate that. I would also like to thank people that helped me through this research process as well. There was the expat cast of Nicole Palazzo. She provided me with several resources. She put me in touch with Hannah Teslin, who runs the Business Babes Abroad community as well. Also, Tarek from Movin .com.de. That's a great resource for anybody who's looking to come to the area here. I spoke with several people from various little startups in Facebook groups and so on. And just thank you to everyone out there. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for talking. Let's continue this discussion. Yeah.